Ashlee, Vance, how you
The
doing
top journalist in
today?
the world
Yes,
and founder now.
Hello, gentlemen.
the
How are you?
founder of Core Memory. Great to have you here. How
Look
you
what
doing today?
I brought a. I
Oh,
There we
there
go.
go.
to
There we
join
go.
the.
Stream.
I didn't have my black card, but
Didn't
I
have a suit, but you're all good.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great to see you. How is Core Memory going? I saw 15,000 subscribers on Substack already. The stuff you've been putting out is fantastic. I love the boom coverage. We've read a bunch of your pieces on our show. I want to hear about some of the brain-computer interface stuff you've been working on. I want to hear what you're excited about, because you're always on the edge of the edge of the edge of the frontier of the frontier. And so how's it going, and what are you most excited about right now?
It's going well, man. I don't even know where to begin. We got so much going on. We just put up interview with Max Hodak. So
That's
if you
right.
are into brains, you can go deep on some very weird stuff. But yeah, and then tomorrow we'll be launching the first episode of our kind of proper TV show that I'm
Nice.
doing, hosting and writing and all that. And then we got movies in the works,
Yep.
scripted,
Wait,
unscripted, all kinds of stuff.
Rewinding really quickly,
Sure.
the TV show is releasing tomorrow? Like
Yeah.
the first
Tomorrow,
episode?
God willing, if everyone does what they're supposed to do. Yeah, I used to make Hello World for Bloomberg, which was
Yep.
like a tech travel show, and had to kill that. We're coming back. We've got, I think by the end of this month, we'll have filmed 10 episodes. So hopefully coming out like every couple weeks, and doing some space, some biotech, a little bit of everything.
Fantastic. And the production for that is weekly, still travel, still go on site, talk to founders, show us what they're building, show us their factories, that type of stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the goal we're trying to pull off this year is like 20 to 30 kind of individually focused episodes that would be a single company / person. And then we're going to have 2 full seasons of, so those episodes could be anywhere from like whatever, 8 to 20 minutes. And then we're going to have 2 full seasons of deeper dives into different areas of technology that will be 4 episodes each of like an hour long. So closer to kind of like a documentary.
Yeah. It's hard work. I've dipped my toe in that, and I have a ton of respect for it, because it's really, really hard to get right. You show up, you film a lot, and then, it lives or dies on the cutting room floor for sure.
I mean, it's really fun to do and go meet everyone and do all the travel. I know when I was at Bloomberg, everyone thought I was just on some endless boondoggle way. I mean, it's a fantastic job, and not to make it sound like it's not, but it's long days and like very long days and a lot of organizing and everything.
So how are you thinking about distribution for that? Obviously, you're part of the new media going direct movement, but there is a paywall. You want to monetize that way. Are the videos going to be gated for a little bit? Or are you just trying to get them to go viral on X and YouTube? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the early days, it's kind of like maybe a little more free on letting things out in the wild, just to let everybody know what we're doing and show kind of the quality of our work. But yeah, I mean, I think the Substack part of this, I mean, my company is like multi-pronged, and I didn't know which direction all this would go. Substack's kind of done better than I even imagined at the beginning. So I think the videos, eventually will go there first for the subscribers for some period of time, and then we'll release some of them onto YouTube, and then stuff like the really deep dive seasons where I think we're showing off our very best work and investing a lot of money. Some of those might never make it to YouTube. They'll live on Core Memory. And and then I'm trying to figure out, like, can we live off subscriptions, or do these have to be sponsored, or what does that model look like? But I feel like we've got to build up our audience first to even be able to address some of those questions.
Yeah. Well, we love ads, so if you ever go the ad route, stuff it with ads.
We'll be your first. We'll be your
jackets.
We'll be your first sponsor. We have very
all
different
of our
products
sponsors.
here.
We can just sponsor through, and you can just have the full NASCAR jacket. We'll send you one of our jackets.
I'm so impressed, man. I was like,
stickers all over everything.
You guys got the ad power rolling. I was very impressed.
Yeah, our North Star was NASCAR for sure.
I'm curious. So. Maybe this is just how it feels, and maybe it's not actually real. I think you're going to be able to address this, but what happens to legacy media when all the, long term, all the best content creators realize, hey, I can actually do more of what I love and make more money in the long run if I go independent? Does it just create space for the next Ashlee Vance to kind of join Bloomberg and work their way up and build a brand, and then the cycle continues? Or, it does feel like platforms like Bloomberg, really do have brand value in terms of delivering sort of legitimacy to launches and announcements and things like that. But sort of what's your read on where legacy media goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. Exactly what you said. I've worked at the New York Times. I've worked at Bloomberg. I've written for The Economist. There's like this cachet that comes with that. There's a certain amount of influence that comes with that. You always feel like it's part of your last name, and it feels good sometimes, and then I just kind of like reached a point where couldn't really move fast enough for all the different things that I wanted to do within the confines of Bloomberg. I felt like there was kind of lacking some flexibility, a whole bunch of things. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough question because um, when you're on this side, it's exciting and it's awesome and it's exactly what I want to be doing, but it's also really hard. I'm not sure that like every journalist, can pull all this. I'm not even sure I can pull this off, so I'm not sure that like everybody can.
We have faith in you, Ashlee. I think you're gonna
Thank
pull
you.
it off.
Yeah, I
But
guess like the main,
Yeah.
a sort of question. One thing that I think is a challenge with the internet right now and creating content in generally is like this sort of the type of content that you want to make isn't potentially ever going to be able to do like sort of Mr. Beast numbers, right? Because it's not that sort of like lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about balancing? I just am so obsessed with this topic. Like I need to cover this. I need to make this sort of definitive piece on it. That feels like there feels like 100,000 people in the world that would like happily pay for that product. But are you okay with sort of understanding that you maybe are building for the sort of this sort of extreme techno optimist and kind of willing to sort of ignore at times the broader market?
Like I'm totally okay with that. Even as we're going into the edits for this new show, when I was talking to the editors, I mean, you nailed it on the head. I like gave them a commandment, which was, look at Bloomberg. I think we were talking to a smart audience, but it was a mainstream audience. It's like anytime I was like, let it breathe. When the dude is nerding out on the rocket engine, when we're talking about stem cell engineering, it's like, okay, if that runs a little bit long and we're talking up to people, we're never talking down to people. And I didn't even start this. Look, it would be awesome if we had, say, like the best case for this particular company is probably maybe some of the scripted stuff we end up doing, which is like winning the lotto. If you actually get that on there, maybe that makes a ton of money. Otherwise, I want this to be sustainable. I just love doing this. And so as long as we're making enough money that I can keep making everything I want to make, it's okay. And so, yeah, if we find that chunk of people who will actually pay for what I hope is like, we try to make it smarter and more entertaining and to like for people who actually want to learn stuff to make it fun to do that. I mean, that's my general goal. And we'll figure out sort of how big that is.
I wonder if there's a world where this all kind of round trips. Like we've seen this with a few independent creators, like Rogan did the big Spotify deal. Pat McAfee had an independent show. Then eventually now Pat McAfee just has a segment on ESPN. It still feels like the Pat McAfee show podcast, but it just happens to be distributed through ESPN as well as YouTube live streams and podcast feeds. And I'm wondering if at some point Bloomberg comes back to you and says, hey, you're going to get complete control, creative control, but we'd love to just, have this fill out our content stack. Cause I was turning on Bloomberg the other day and like in the middle of the night, they're rerunning your show. They're rerunning Emily Chang's Brotopia, or I guess it's called The Circuit. But that show's done very well for them. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of where this goes in terms of long-term distribution.
I'm super curious. I mean, it's really weird. Like Hello World got nominated for Bloomberg's first Emmy ever. We used to like have, 1,000x views of the next show. And anytime I would try to have these more flexible kind of discussions. There wasn't a lot of, open-mindedness to some of
Yeah.
this. So maybe if, if you bear it out that you can kind of build this audience, maybe that does come back. However, I have to say, like, there's a weird thing that happens
Yeah.
where, um, like, the most fun I ever had early in my career was writing for The Register, which is this like British tech site that's quite funny and
Yeah.
can be cynical. And it was run by the writers. It was like one of the first blogs. And it was, you really could say what you wanted to say. And as you get into more traditional media, there's a lot of fantastic stuff that comes with it, and you learn a lot. But you don't fully kind of realize how your voice is getting
Yeah.
shaped by the platform until I started this, and my register voice just like kind of,
Came
which is,
back.
yeah, it's kind of like my book voice. I think it's
Yeah.
like my happiest place to write, and
Fantastic.
it just kind of came roaring back, and then it was. So, I know like Pat McAfee gets to say whatever he wants. So
Yeah.
as long as you could kind of keep all that
Yeah.
freedom, that would be
Once
okay.
the
'Cause
network
now that
realizes that this is actually better for the viewer, then the incentives can align, which is great. I want to stay
Yeah.
on books. You've obviously written two. Jordy's thinking about writing a book called The 100-Hour Work Week, kind of a response to the 4-hour work week. Very on brand for us. But there are some people who just become authors and they publish a book every single year. You're obviously getting on a cadence of newsletters go out on a regular cadence, podcasts go out on a regular cadence. This new show is going to go out on a regular cadence. Is there a world where you think it's possible to get on some multi-year cycle for books, or is it just inspiration needs to strike? You have to carve out time, get everything else automated more or less so that you can really focus? Or is there some in between where your work instantiates itself as a book, but it doesn't require the labor of love that most books require?
Oh, you're asking the tough questions.
Yeah.
I'm doing books right now, so
Let's go.
I'm doing books.
I've been working on a book on
Breaking news, new
on
Ashlee Vance novel coming, no new book coming.
I'm doing a book on OpenAI and AI more broadly, and I've been
Amazing.
working on that for like 18 months. And Penguin Random House is going to publish that, and sold the movie rights to it already.
Nice.
And so that one, I've already done hundreds and hundreds of interviews, and
Wow.
and to your question, which gets right at my soul, is like, finding the time to knock it out, but I will. And then I've got another book, which I'm not sure coming right after that. I'm not sure I'm ready to reveal that one yet, but I've been kind of secretly researching these two books for the last like 2-3 years.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait.
Question
Massive
for you.
Father's Day treat, by the way. I think that's originally how we interacted. You recommended buying When the Heavens Went on Sale, your second book, for Father's Day. I bought 2 copies for my father and my father-in-law. They both loved it. And I think you retweeted it. And I was like, yes,
Love to see it.
my guy.
I'm curious, why did nobody really was really aware of Firefly until they were on the moon?
Oh,
is,
yeah.
is that
That's a good question.
do you and secondary to that question, do you see yourself as potentially becoming almost like a marketing engine for these companies that are so laser focused on the like core technology that they sort of forget to tell the world what they're doing?
Like a single thread would have been better than what we got from Firefly.
Firefly's funny. I mean, you kind of had like the Branson, Musk, Bezos dynamic that sucked a lot of the attention, and then the Rocket Labs of the world, the Fireflies, they got a little missed compared to that stuff. In my book, I have a huge section on Firefly. It's kind of one of the most interesting stories I think of the book is this Max Plyakov, this Ukrainian rich dude who gets thrown out of the company, thrown out of the country in the middle of all that. So usually it's like people don't pay attention to space companies until you really start launching, and they had some stop
Landing on
starts.
the moon.
So but the criminal thing is Rocket Lab, because there's a little bit of a lack of attention on that, because there's like SpaceX and Rocket Lab, and they're the only two who have figured it out, and they figured it out on a scale that like nobody else has even got close to yet. And they did it from New Zealand, which is insane.
Wow.
One request for a book. I think that there's like one of the greatest stories of potentially our current time will be the sort of narrative battle and the sort of the war between the sort of techno pessimists and the techno optimists. And I'm curious, every single day it feels like the techno pessimists are sort of taking L after L, right? But that's one. On last question, I would just love to get your hot take on humanoid robotics. It's something that we've been asking a lot of the guests that are joining the show. I'm sure you're, tracking a lot of these companies. What are you most excited about, and how quickly, in your view, are these a part of our daily life?
I mean, it is something that I'm tracking and I'm super into it. I've been to Figure and X1 and a couple of other companies. I don't, I'm slightly scarred on this one because I've been down this road before a couple of times. We have sort of the advantages of the AI models in particular now. It's going to be.
Is that like Boston Dynamics scars or?
There's that. There was that company that made Baxter, which was supposed to be this kind of general purpose robot. There was always like this feeling,
Asimo.
that. Right. Yeah, that it was.
I grew up with Asimo, and I was like, yeah, Honda's going to solve this. It's definitely going to be helping me out. Didn't happen.
And they always prove to be just like the movement part just proves to be so much harder than like you think. But like when I went to Figure, they had made so much progress in 18 months to 2 years, way beyond what I would have thought. Optimus, to be honest, like when I first saw Optimus, I thought it was like very heavy on the smoke and mirrors, and like they've made incredible progress as well. So I don't know, man. I kind of want to see that one happen, but that one feels.
Well,
I
can see a world. You have so many different stories to tell. I can see a world where there's like 20 of you out in the world, in the little just embodied humanoid, and you're just like, interviewing people, writing,
puppeteering,
and you're just sitting, sitting in the studio. You've got all your screens up.
This one's at Starbase constantly. This one's at,
So I would like that.
That'd be great. Less travel, more time for family.
And then you could just, anytime we needed you on the show to talk about something, you just
come right in,
sit the
right
humanoid
here.
down. But thanks for coming on. You're always welcome, and we're excited to track Core Memory.
You guys are killing it. Thank you for giving me time. It's awesome to see you guys do your thing.
Yeah, if you're listening, go to corememory.com, sign up for a Substack subscription. Follow Ashlee on every social platform that he's on.
Add him on LinkedIn. Send a request.
Send him a carrier pigeon. Mail him a letter. Do something nice for him. Support the techno optimist.
Awesome.
Great
Thanks for coming
Ashley.
on.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.